Welcome to the Brightside Live. My name is Michelle Katz. I'm the founder of the Plus One Foundation, Adoption Foundation. So what we do is we focus on all things adoption. So whether you have, just the idea, maybe we should adopt, to we've adopted, and now what do we do? And it could even be years down the road. So we put on this series called the Brightside Live to highlight those that are helping the adoption community wherever you are in that path. Today, we are going to be talking with Laura Adams. She created an amazing program, iCARE4. I'm inviting her now, and she's going to tell us all about this program that she's implemented in schools to educate teachers on how to best accommodate, include adopted kids so they don't feel disenfranchised. So inviting her now, and really excited. I've spoken with her, but I haven't met her before, so I'm really excited about also being able to connect with her on this subject matter, and it's not one that we've talked about a lot. So we're going to learn a lot, and me included, because it's so necessary to have programs like this in schools. Let's see if the tech will do its thing. And it did. That's so wonderful.
Yeah, hi Michelle. So good to see you today.
Likewise.
I'm going to apologize in advance a little bit. I have a cold, so
You can't
I'll do
even
my
tell.
best. So we are iCare for Adoptive and Foster Families, and we are providing training and resources for schools for families who have kids who are adopted, fostered, or in kinship care, which would be anybody living with relatives, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, and it's been real fun and exciting.
Okay, so we're going to back up a bit
Uh-huh.
because, of course, we want to know how it is that you even got into this, how you developed the
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Back up.
Thanks. So I am an adoptive mom. I was reading instructor in public schools for a number of years. I'm now a substitute teacher and reading tutor, and I'm an adoption support group leader. And I've been doing that for a number of years. And through all of that experience, we realized that there were so many things that schools weren't aware of with our children and that they could do very easily in the classroom to support our kids and to make their academic and emotional health journeys easier. So we wanted to provide that. And it just grew out of that lived experience.
So how many kids do you have?
So we have ourselves and our family, we have
Yeah.
4. We have 2 bio, 2 adopted from China. In our group, our adoption support group, we have kids adopted from every type of adoption. So foster care, domestic, international, all of it.
So obviously, we tend to create things when we see a gap, right? Necessity is the
Mm-hmm.
mother of invention.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you seeing? And were you seeing this independently from your own experience, or was it what because you have adopted kids, and what
Yeah.
transpired where you were like, okay, these schools are not equipped. Let's
Yeah.
figure this out.
So, we were just seeing across the board that parents were having to advocate for a lot of different things. And sometimes kids were blamed for their behaviors and emotions, and it might have been tied to something that triggered a past experience. Our kids have come into our homes with prior histories of trauma and neglect and different things, and it's not always obvious to schools. They see our smart, funny, intelligent kids, but they don't know what their family history is like, their medical history, their social history, things like that. So, no matter where our parents lived, the breakdown was with schools. And so we knew from being teachers, our board is clinicians, teachers, professionals, For a clinician to specialize in adoption foster care, they have to take over 50 hours of training. For a parent, if you wanted to be a foster parent or an adoptive parent, you have to take about 30 to 40 hours of training. But for schools who get our kids 40 hours a week, they required no training. And, the schools want to help. That's important. They want to do social emotional learning and tier 3 support help through social work, but they need to have that same knowledge, the same shared language, the same understanding of what best practices to support our kids.
And to identify the issue too, like when you
Yeah.
see it, and you
Mm-hmm.
can pause and say, okay, I may need to handle this a little bit differently than maybe some of the other kids in class. I mean, we're all wired differently anyway. And I don't know if so much customization has been a theme in the school system historically. And
Yeah, well, you're right. And it really it affects classroom assignments. So we talk about like family tree assignment options. We have a bundled bilingual resource that we put into schools called the Connection Kit. And in there is a family tree template for 3 different types of family trees. So kids who might have a little different family setup could still have their family be celebrated and honored. It's little things like that. Oh, you have your
I have
connection
my
kit. I was so
kids.
excited. Yes.
I have my kids.
And that has been, by the way, we got 1,850 of those out this past year and a half. People have loved them. They didn't realize, honestly, different things that they could do very easily in the classroom. Even when it comes to things like books, you can have books in your classroom with families that have adopted and fostered children. Again, to say, hey, we have kids in our school who have this experience, and it's important to honor them and celebrate them as well.
And would you
Um,
say that now it's do parents let their teachers know when like, okay, if your kid's adopted, um,
mhm.
or you're an adoptive family, is that something that the schools rely on the parents, right? Because how would they know?
So for right now, the way it would work is if a child is in a formal foster care case where they're part of DCFS, the school would know that.
Right.
Beyond that, they might not know, which is so interesting because when you register a child for school, they do already ask if the parents are divorced and who the child's living with. So there's that
Okay.
piece out there. And by the way, all of that is kept confidential, so it's not shared, with the rest of the
Mhm.
school public. But it's important for schools to know what the child's family history has been because it does shape the type of support you might bring. So, especially this year, we feel it's very urgent with the mental health mandate, the mental health screening mandate coming out in Illinois. They want to, for grades 3 through 12, do a mental health screening at the beginning of the year for every student, which is wonderful to identify kids who might need more help. The problem is if you don't know that attachment, dysregulation, those types of responses to past trauma also look like things like ADHD or anxiety, which is maybe what the symptom looks like, but not what the root cause is. We can really
Hi.
Hi. Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. There
Something
must have been a
you
little
went.
glitch there. We had
Yeah,
some rain
yeah. All of
out
a sudden
here.
you went
So,
silent. I'm like, no.
oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
So when you mentioned that number, that 1,000 plus, what was
Hmm.
it? 1,800? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,800 plus.
Is
Our,
that schools? Is that 1,800 schools? Like you send
mhm.
a kit, and then that's each number represents a school that received it, correct?
Yeah, so I would say
Okay.
out of that, there's probably 1,500 schools, 1,600
Okay.
schools. Some did go to providers who work with families. Some went to families directly to take to schools themselves. Ideally, we would love to see one of these kits in the hands of every child who enters foster care to be able to take to their school right away because they might not be prepared to understand all the intricacies of what this child might be going through. through. And then really ideally it is nice for parents to have it because parents are told all the time that they need to advocate for their kids and they don't know what to advocate for. So this kind of starts putting that, language in their heads. Oh, here's what I need to talk to my teachers about. And it helps just normalize everything that their child might be struggling with.
So of these 1,800, are
Hmm.
these, I know you're in Illinois, so are
Hmm.
these Illinois schools? Have
Hmm.
we crossed borders yet? Are we in
Yeah, no,
nearby
they've
states?
definitely crossed borders. So most of those are in Illinois. Our push right now for this next year is to get them in every school in Illinois because we want Illinois to be a model for the rest of the nation, to show how easy and how wonderful it is to be able to support all families in the school system. There's a number of kits that have been used by national trainers to take out to other schools. And then, yes, on a school by school basis, when people find out about us, we can send them a kit. But ideally, to change, culture to maybe make it more of a district wide push, it's helpful if we can do, a mailing or a distribution to every school in a district.
An adoption may be the catalyst for this, but as I
Hmm.
was going through the connection kit, to me, it seemed like this was valuable for all families.
Hmm.
Whether they're adopted or not, or however they
Yeah.
came to you. So I was going through, let's get emotional. I saw
Yes.
this is amazing. Can
Hmm.
you tell us about this amazing wheel?
Oh, thanks, Michelle. I love the wheel. That's a magnetic feelings wheel. It has over 72 feelings on it. And it's framed in a way of needs being met or needs being unmet, because we really want people to know that all behavior is communication. And when we look behind it, often we'll say a child's mad or sad. But we can really break that down a little more. Are they embarrassed? Are they frustrated? Is there a little more going on? With foster and adoption, you can have a lot of ambiguous grief and loss that, doesn't have closure to it. So, for instance, if you have a death in the family, there would be a funeral, there'd be a memorial, some way to honor that loss. In adoption and foster care, when they move to a new family, we often celebrate adoption days or gotcha days, but we also have to be cognizant that there is a loss there. And even though children might not express it right away, as they grow developmentally, they start thinking about it. And those things weigh on them. They don't have the language to articulate and talk about it. So, by having schools trained in advance and to know these things, it really helps with the kids. So, again, going back to the feeling wheel, there are so many different ways to describe what a child is just beyond a basic mad, sad, angry.
Let's do an example, I think, so people get an idea of this wheel, because I thought it was great. So, I mean, we could take any of them really. Why don't we do sad, since that may be a common one, right? So
Mhm.
sad says here, and then loss. And then the opposite, same in the same color, is joyful, right?
Mhm.
And then so
Mhm.
you follow the sad characteristics of the feelings. I may not be using
Mhm.
the right words, Laura, so that's where we
Mhm.
need
No,
you
that's
here.
you got it,
And
Michelle.
then also, um, there's a separate column here that starts with hopeless and goes down to disappointment.
Right.
So, can you explain kind of, so we understand what we're looking at when we get to this middle column and then the outer column, and then obviously juxtaposed in the same color, kind of like,
Mhm.
I guess, the opposites
Yeah.
feelings?
So, right. So, take the SAT, for instance. A lot of times we'll see in schools where they have kind of a check in with happy, sad faces for even
Mhm.
kindergartners, right? Well,
Yeah.
sad can mean so many different things. And we always say, too, a child can be sad in one moment of time of the day. And 5 minutes later, because their best friend sat down next to them, everything's fine, you know? So there's different
Mhm.
degrees of sadness. And we really do want to know, well, what is bringing on that feeling? Is it something that requires, something that we need to support better? Or is it something that is more situational and, we can move on? So that's why there's, all the different gradings and all the different choices.
So is this in the classroom as an example, right? And the
Mhm,
kid, the child, right, can then
mhm.
point maybe
Yeah,
or using the
yeah. I mean, it
faces.
depends, right, on the age level.
Mhm.
Certainly, from the teacher's perspective, they are free to, read from it or talk to them, and explain to the child because the child honestly doesn't have all those feelings. Depending on the age, they might not think of things in difference from sad or mad. So we want them to be able to break that down. And again, so we get the right support behind it.
So once we, okay, so I want our listeners and, you know, our followers to understand when a kid is in school, how it's implemented and
Yeah.
how then it
Hmm.
becomes useful,
Hmm.
the trickle down, if it goes to the school,
Hmm. Yeah.
I've got this beautiful, somewhat thick, right,
Hmm.
packet of things.
Yeah.
How does it just get kind of then inputted into like into their heads and the training, like you said, is
Hmm.
absolutely right. As parents, we are required to do a certain amount of ed. And
Hmm.
so I guess once the packet's received by the school, then what
Hmm.
happens? How does it then get into all the classrooms?
Yeah, thank you for that. So we have three workshops that they're part of our Connected We Thrive professional development training that we do virtually or in person. A lot of times we do it district wide. Sometimes we do it for the intervention specialists.
Yes.
But it is appropriate across the school community, and every school has to provide professional development anyways. So we are starting to be implemented in that way. We're also looking at in the future, train the trainer programs, which is more or less what we're doing now with key people in the school to make sure that this information gets spread across the school. I will give you an example though. West 40 in Chicago, that is an instructional learning area center in their schools. They have taken these kits. They have met with every single team and in a district to talk about how to utilize them. Then they take it back to the school. Those copies can be run off and used within the school. So, like the feelings wheel, that could actually be copied and sent to the teachers. We put it on a magnetic on a magnetic wheel for our thought was the social worker or whoever's in charge with mental health support at the school could have on their desk or in their board. Sometimes they are passed around. We do sell extra of them, so it just depends on the school. But the schools have SEL curriculums anyways. And so the beauty of these kits is that they can take the materials and the information and just implement them in already existing SEL information and professional development that they do. So we're really trying to make it as easy as access as possible and remove any barriers at all, whether it's cost or, difficulty. We're making it teacher friendly. We always say they're made by teachers for teachers because we know, we want to honor their time. There's a lot of kids and they're trying to support all of them. So again, we're, making it easy and fun.
This is one of my favorites that we could all, and it's bilingual.
Yeah.
It stands
The
for English. This 478 breathing. I have heard of this. I have
hmm
used this. This is quite nice. There's a lot of things in here that I thought were so valuable. Most classes do the family tree,
hmm hmm
and
Yeah.
in our experience, adoption is not even it's not even a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and here, I have it here so people can see it. I'll do the English side, although
Yeah.
of course it's flipped because it's mirrored.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to then include, not everyone knows, but it's, and like their adoptive the family they know, but maybe their biological family they don't, and
Mm-hmm.
that's okay.
And that's
But kind
okay.
of leaving room for it, so it has here flipped, but it says birth mother, birth father. You know, we didn't do that. I mean,
Yeah, and
but
it's
for some that could be really quite relevant, especially when you adopt
mhm.
older children.
Absolutely. And we want to honor those original
Mhm.
families and stories. They're important to that child.
Mhm.
And again, by giving options to the whole class, each child can decide for themselves. This does not
Right.
require self disclosure. And honestly, we found that in most schools, when they implement these, there's more children in the classroom that will identify with some of those approaches than they thought. Because kids can, sometimes have in a divorce situation, some of those same things can be there. And so they really, we're really conscientious of that. I love the family forest on there because then if a child has lived with multiple families, as is in the case of a lot of foster children, they can honor those families that are important to them if they want. And so again, it's a way to celebrate all parts of a child's family history. But when you talked about that too, it reminded me there was a trend last spring on TikTok. It was a trending teacher activity, and it was called Adopt a Peep. So kids would adopt a marshmallow peep. We actually got a call from a parent of a 9-year-old boy, and his son, had to participate in this. And for 2 weeks, they had writing prompts, and it was meant to be very sweet and innocuous. But for a child who's already adopted to talk about what it's like to be a parent of an adopted peep, and then at the end of the 2 weeks have to give that peep back, it brought
Oh,
up a lot of emotions and
yeah.
complications. And during that time, that little boy celebrated his adoption day too.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, talk about, again, something that was meant for good, but really
Mhm.
for a lot of kids is really difficult and hard.
So we have an adopted child. We have two, and like you, we have four kids. I carried two and adopted two.
Hmm.
So the our eldest, we adopted her. She was 4 months old. So I
Hmm.
mean, we've had her almost her whole life.
Hmm.
So when she was in kindergarten, though, we were really close with her kindergarten teacher, and she ended up having her. She was getting moved around, but the teacher, and so my daughter ended up having her for 3 years. So you can imagine we were pretty close with this teacher by this point.
Hmm.
And we got a call or an email from the teacher saying, your daughter lied to me today. And I go, oh, that's so strange. What about? Well, she
Hmm.
said she was adopted. And I go, I go, she is adopted.
Hmm.
And she couldn't, she just was like floored, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so thinking back, especially in light of this conversation, like that was a very strange response that the teacher had.
Hmm.
Why would she not believe the child, for
Hmm.
one?
Hmm.
And also, like, instead of assuming she lied, and I still don't really understand why. I guess because we kind of have very similar mannerisms, we have
Hmm.
similar features, maybe some would say, but still, like, I thought that was a really and we love her, this teacher,
Hmm.
to this day,
Hmm.
but it was
Hmm.
a really kind of fun. We just kind of laughed it off, but
Hmm.
now, and no harm, no foul. Our daughter did not have any lasting effects from that we know
Hmm.
of. But I
Hmm.
mean, she's
Yeah.
20 now.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just kind of interesting. Like in light of this, if this
Hmm.
curriculum had been maybe, or the kid had been kind of implemented, I wonder if it would
Oh,
have been different.
100%.
Maybe.
The number one feedback we get from our training is like, wow, like I have been doing my job for 10 years and didn't know this.
Hmm.
Or we even have, we're doing this Adoption and Foster Friendly School campaign with the designation so schools can get the training and have a little logo. So parents know if they move into a district that this school has the information, is using the kits, things like that. And we have one of our champions is the University of Illinois Child of Childhood Excellence, or Center for Excellence in Child Welfare. I always get messed up on the name. And the director there even spoke in our webinar last week, and she said, look, I've been doing this for 30 years in child welfare and education, and there are things I go back to now and go, oh, I didn't handle this right. And she said, I would have done so many things differently had I had all this information. So
Yeah.
again, it's something that people don't even realize that they
Hmm.
needed, but now that they do, they're, we see minds spinning. It affects their, the way they work with families even and parents, to understand what a family might be going through, what their child might be going through. Yeah, it's been really, we look at this as a key piece for permanency support for families to help
Hmm.
children be stable, to help children thrive, and really to help the family thrive.
And what I've noticed, and most people I know that have multiple children,
Hmm.
biological or not, they're different. Like
Yeah. Oh.
they're different. So it's this
Hmm.
idea that you see a particular behavior. Maybe if you
Yeah.
have some background information, that helps, or at least an awareness that all not all kids are the same, right? And
Right.
so that you can
Hmm.
actually go about handling all these various emotions that you may be seeing in a way that's customized to the child to actually have a better result.
Exactly. And we tell that, we bring strategies, we talk about strategies, the kit has them in there, but we're very clear that every child handles loss and grief differently. You can be the same mom, the same, loving family, and you can have one child who struggles and one who doesn't. And that is totally normal. We need to expect everything and just really have the mindset shift is really
Hmm.
the most important thing.
No, absolutely. And so, and parenting, if you have
Hmm.
multiple kids, you know that your same reaction to one is not going to be the same,
Yes.
or is not going to have the same result with others, right?
Yeah, we
So, I
are.
mean, my kids might say, "Oh, well, that's so unfair
Yeah.
because so and so did that." I was like, customized parenting. You get what you need.
We always say
You
don't
get
write
what
that
you need. Yeah.
don't write that parenting book too fast because
Yeah.
you might have the next one come along.
Yeah. Although there's some good ones out there. Good,
Yeah, yeah.
some very, very good ones. So, looking through the material and, website and all the things, it's like a healing centered, hope focused type of education, right? I have that.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
It's trauma informed training for sure, and qualifies under that, but it's done in a way that focuses on what our end goal is, which is resiliency. It's all done in a happy, joyful, hope filled way. We really want to take, the onus off of the kids and just say, look, these are remarkable, amazing kids, and we
Yeah.
can really come behind them in a supportive and hopeful way.
So if we're actually getting to the end already. I know
Oh
it goes
gosh,
very quickly.
okay.
If there's one key takeaway that you want, families, educators, caregivers to remember from today's conversation, what would that be?
I would say that schools need to be part of your support system. They can be. It is important. Our kids spend 40 hours a week at school, and we need to have them, engaged and knowing the things that can help our kids thrive. So, we're really working at filling that gap. And if parents are out there and they want to contact us or contact their school and encourage them to become an adoption foster friendly school, we'll make sure we get them the information they need.
Okay, and we'll include contact information, website in the details post
Great.
interview here, post
Great.
Brightside. I want to thank you so much
Aw,
and
thanks.
let us know how I mean, beyond, I mean, basically, how can we help you? Because what the work you're doing helps all of us.
Yes, yes. Well, we always can use donations. We're a nonprofit, and we do provide these kits either free or greatly discounted to schools. We never want cost to be a barrier, and we are looking at, like we said, moving our training into all schools. We do. This is a national effort, the Adoption and Foster Friendly School effort. It's based on the Dave Thomas Foundation's Foster and Adoption Friendly Workplaces. And we really want schools everywhere around the country to be an adoption and foster friendly school.
I don't know if you ever participate in, nonprofit focused conferences. I would imagine you do. I
Yeah.
attended one just 2 days ago called Elevate Impact. And so you can Google that one. We can
Okay.
talk offline, but that
Yeah.
might be another place
Mm-hmm.
where there's resources and just information. As you know, Plus One is also a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes.
So, like,
Uh-huh.
just to band together as we're
Yeah.
trying to move the needle in various important spaces like adoption.
Yeah.
Because most people nowadays, since we don't really live in the world of secrecy on adoption like it used to be
Yes.
back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
most people are know someone. If it's not directly your family,
Mm-hmm.
someone, someone. I feel like it's common enough now, mainstream enough now, in a way, but we're still trying to bring that conversation to the forefront. So I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
really, what you're doing with iCARE4, Laura, is great. And I want to thank also everyone who is watching now and those that watch later as we save this to the grid. We hope that you found this session very inspiring and useful, informative. That's why we're here for with this Brightside Live. Share this conversation with educators, school leaders, other parents too. And please be sure to like, share, comment, all those things. We too look for donations. So if you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
help keep this
Yeah.
sort of thing going, please feel free to donate. The links are on our website, plus1adoption.org. You can't miss it because as soon as you go on the website, there's a pop-up that, ask if you want to donate. So we appreciate consideration for that. If you want to get involved in any way, you could always DM us or email us. We appreciate all
Yeah.
the support,
Thank you,
all the
Michelle.
efforts
Thank you so much for having me.
in this space, and I wish everyone a great day. And thank you for being a part of the Plus One community.
Thanks, Michelle. It was so fun. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.